Tell me when we're on. Oh, we're live.
On.
Hello, everybody. We're very
Hi.
happy to be live today. Yeah, so I am today with, oh my God, my YouTube just started playing ads. Sorry, I'm very sorry on the background. But I am today with Nas from The Mind Designer and Al from Falkyou. Thank you guys for being here. Do you mind saying just a couple of things about yourselves? Just, so that my new audience knows about you more.
So Naz, you can go ahead first.
Sure. Hi, I'm Naz, and I am a career, life, and just general happiness coach for all women in tech. My goal really is to get us all to come together and work together and just feel better about our place in tech so that we become the leaders that we so desperately need in our tech world today. So that's me.
And I am Al. I am a front-end application developer for a healthcare solutioning company. I'm also a member of the Women of Sex Tech, which is a sex-positive community, raising awareness about the sex tech industry. And I am really excited to be here and chat with you guys today about like leadership and self-love.
Thank you so much for joining me. So Nas, I'll let you take over because this is kind of your area of expertise, right? You're doing a lot of work around leadership and tech, and for all of you watching us today, that's the topic of our live stream, and it's leadership and tech, and it's also leadership through self-love. So Nas, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I first just kind of want to get to know you two a little better. I know we've had our chats, but I was thinking of asking, I know that was the first question that I had there, what inspired us to get into tech? But what I really want to know is I want to ask you all, what keeps you in tech? What inspires you to continue on in this industry that can be a little bit not so welcoming at times, but also just demanding just because of the nature of it? So what keeps you both in tech?
Al, do you want to go first?
Sure. So prior to tech, I was studying fashion. I was getting my master's in fashion, and I was working in marketing. And I came home for some family stuff, and I wasn't able to find a job. So I found myself unemployed. I was running out of savings, and I started to learn how to code to kind of up-level my resume because I saw like a lot of marketing jobs were requiring, like some HTML and CSS skills. And so then I started doing it as a hobby because I really liked it. And then I saw like, oh, I can like make this my full-time career, and I don't need a comp sci degree to get a full-time job doing this. And I think, at that time, I was really unaware of the type of careers that are in tech. I didn't realize how expansive it was and like all the depths of like, any language you can do so many things with it and build so many things that are kind of aligned with your specific interests. And I just wasn't aware about that. And so what basically keeps me in tech now is that reason that like I can do things that I like, and also the fact that I never wake up dreading to go to work. I love my job so much. I get really excited when I'm at work, and like when I'm writing code, I feel so happy, and I feel like I feel really smart, and I don't ever like check the clock to be like, oh man, like I only have like 5 hours until I go home. So that's something that, that I really looked for in a job. And it's something that makes me feel fulfilled. So that's why I stay in the industry.
Cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's an amazing industry. I completely agree. To be honest, for me, that's the constant development that happens in the tech industry, because we are basically designing the future, right? Right this moment. And also the fact that you can meet so many incredible people that are just super inspired and are super excited to create. They can't wait for tomorrow. They can't wait to be part of this huge thing that's going to be happening and going to be disruptive and innovative. I always have problems with the the right stress in this word, but yeah, basically, people in this industry a lot of the times have this spark in their eyes, and they are just super, super excited to create and to make the future happen. So yeah, what about you, Nas?
Yeah, so that's exactly like that aligns really well with my inspiration to stay too, even though my thought was when I started coaching, I was like, oh, I'm done with tech. I'm leaving. I've had all the horrible experiences that one can take. But I couldn't because I had to come right back. That's the thing with tech, right? It's all about disruption and innovation and being at the forefront of something really exciting. There's still a lot of dreamers in tech, and that's what's really, really cool. You know, we look around at some of the startups that I have here in Silicon Beach or, you know, worldwide, and you just can't help but be excited of what's ahead. It's just such a cool, yeah, it's such a cool industry. And then I also am excited and I stay in tech because now I get to work with all amazing women and who are in tech for different reasons and doing really, really, really exciting stuff. So for me to have even a tiny, tiny part in how they work better or how they feel about themselves or to keep them motivated to keep doing what they're doing in tech, it just makes me feel so good. So that's my why. So I really wanted to get that out of you all because yes, we all have our inspiration story and how we got in, but it's important, I think, for people to understand why we're all so involved in it and why we're so excited because there's so much to be excited by. But yes, on the other end, there are some obstacles, and I can speak to my own experiences when it comes to, you know, sexual harassment. That was my number one thing. I've had experiences of, you know, being threatened with demotion because I wouldn't go out with a boss, or you know, I still have people that I worked with years ago that's still talking about certain things that I wore to the office and had them talk about me while I was in office. It was just all those kinds of little tiny microaggressions. And then on top of that, like actual things that get in the way of work, right? My main obstacles were not being heard in meetings, being completely overlooked. I mean, I had certain accomplishments that I had to bring up, you know, after meetings because I just wasn't recognized during the time that I was supposed to. And I just wasn't even, like, my name wasn't even brought up. So those were my obstacles. And I realized a couple years ago that a lot of what I was experiencing had to do with communication and my lack of communication skills and lack of really knowing how to stand up for myself in a way that was productive, because I'm really outspoken and I can really stand up for myself. But I found that the way that I was outspoken wasn't as productive as I thought that it was or that I wanted it to be. So that was my inspiration to kind of leave tech for a little bit, get really educated on how to communicate better. And then obviously through that, I learned so many other things, which led me right back to tech in a different capacity, which is now coaching women in it. So yeah, those are my obstacles. And the ways that I overcame them was just through education. But for you two, tell me a little bit more about the things that you encounter in your daily lives.
You mean the downs of the
Yeah.
industry? Well, Masha, you go first.
I was lucky enough not to have experienced direct sexual harassment within the industry. I have experienced it in elsewhere, right? But I have experienced the biases that people have towards women, and just what you were talking about right now, Nas, not having a say, not having a word, and being spoken down to sometimes, because I feel like a lot of the times you're one of the only females in the room and your opinion doesn't really get heard. And it's very inspiring for me to see men who actually empower you to do that. My previous manager, when I was at Google, was unbelievable when it comes to that. He really wanted to hear your opinion and all that stuff. And so that really inspires me, because I know that there's so many obstacles that women face in the industry. And also, you know, not just not being heard, but a lot of the times they have the whole question about, are women getting paid the same amount? It also arises. And actually, this is a coincidence, but maybe not. I don't know. I just saw Sheryl Sandberg's speech just an hour ago, and she's like a great inspiration of mine. And she actually inspired me. Her book Lean In actually inspired me to do a line of t-shirts. I'm not promoting them right now because we're not selling them anymore, but I'm just saying that this is something that relates to it. So this says, when I grow up, I want to be a princess crossed out, paid equally, right? And this is a big thing in the industry, and this is why we created these t-shirts with my friend a year and a half ago on Indiegogo. It's a big problem. So those are the problems for me, I would say. I was very lucky not to have experienced sexual harassment at workplace, but I know it happens also. And yeah.
Do you guys have pay transparency where you work?
So basically, there was a famous spreadsheet that some Googlers have created, listing down their salaries. And that was, I wouldn't say that was really welcomed by the management. I mean, any management really doesn't really want you to be transparent with what you earn. So that was the only way we could have transparency. But we did talk to each other about how much we're earning, and my colleagues and I were kind of similar, which was, reassuring.
Okay. Allison, what have you seen?
I feel like I kind of like blend in with my wall, and I didn't notice that until
I love it.
That was an accident. But I'm so thankful to be working where I am now. The healthcare company that I work for really values me as a professional, and I haven't had any really uncomfortable interactions. I've had a few like distant coworkers kind of hint at like asking me out on a date, but I was upfront with them, and then they were like totally cool about it. Like they didn't pressure me or anything, and they apologized. And but out and also like in meetings and stuff, like because I felt like my voice wasn't really heard in other places that I've worked, I was really shocked in the first meeting I had with my team when they were all talking and they were asking about like the code or like how do you think we can solve this solution? And then one of my coworkers was like, "Hey, Al, what do you think? Like, what do you think we can do?" And I was just like, what? Like I had no idea how to answer, because I was like, I couldn't believe that they were asking me, first of all, because I was still entry level. And I don't know, I was just so conditioned, I felt like, to think that my opinion or my voice didn't matter, and like because I wasn't at their level yet. And so they still do this every meeting, always asking my opinion, and I feel it makes me feel so good, because then I feel like part of the team. I feel like an equal. And but outside of my current workplace, I have experienced a lot of harassment that is just, beyond gross, at meetups or conferences. I've had men make really disgusting jokes about me as if like I wasn't in the room. I think I was at like a lock picking table or something at this security conference, and men were talking about me right next to me, and like talking about my body, and like it was just I felt so vulnerable. I felt unsafe. I didn't feel welcome, and I don't know, like it made me feel gross, like, and I don't want to, now I don't want to go back to that conference when it happens again. So I think that people don't realize how much this pushes others away, and that we need to be really careful with our choice of words, and who we're around when we're speaking, and remember that this is a professional setting. I think that a lot of people kind of forget when they become good friends with their coworkers that it's still a professional environment. And so I don't really want to go into detail. I do go into some details on my Instagram when these kinds of things happen, but I'll save that for another time.
But it's cool though that you touched on the obstacle of speaking up in meetings, because a lot of times we don't really think about those self-imposed obstacles, right? How am I really holding myself back? So that's really cool to talk about, because a lot of the work that I do too is about overcoming imposter syndrome, which I've seen like across the board. I don't know if it's just I doubt it's just a women's issue, but everyone at some point feels in some way like, am I really good enough to be here? Do I really know what I'm doing? And should I speak up? And how should I speak up? So it's really cool for you to touch on that and actually make that, voice that out publicly, because we tend to sort of keep that in and like feel like frauds and not really touch on it. But everyone kind of goes through that at some point.
I feel like imposter syndrome is the theme for my life. I was actually thinking about writing my first Medium article on that.
Yeah, it's huge. We're always thinking like we're not good enough. Where does that come up for you?
Sorry?
How does that come up for you?
It comes up from like at all stages of my life. First, when I was at school back in Russia, I got good grades for some reason and didn't really work enough. And I always thought like, oh my God, they're going to find out that I'm a fraud. And then when I moved to the UK and didn't really speak English, and then, just switching jobs and trying to grow, because I feel like that's part of growing, right? If you feel like you're not good enough, that means you are pushing yourself. You are putting yourself outside of your comfort zone, which is essentially helping yourself grow, right?
Exactly. Yeah, good. It's pretty wild, though, the kinds of things that women tell themselves, like that they can't do or that they shouldn't be doing. So, again, speaking to that, what kind of personal skills that you have that you credit your current success to? And by the way, you both are very successful. If you didn't know. What kind of personal skills do you credit that to?
I want to go first.
Go. Oh, I thought you said I want to go first. Okay. I think I was just my tech skills. I think I was just like, I was going broke and I was running out of savings, and I had the choice, to just keep submitting resumes and not hearing anything back, or going and getting a minimum wage job, or invest my money in a boot camp. And because I had heard, it's such a good return when you do boot camps. And I just kind of was just like, okay, this is my shot. I really like this, and I'm trusting my gut that I'm going to be able to get a job if I work hard at it. I don't want to struggle anymore. So I just took the leap, and I think taking risks is what really counts. And I was even ready to fail if it didn't work out. Like, I kind of gave myself 1 year, I think, and I can always go back, to doing something else, just to get by if it wasn't going to work. So, and I think imposter syndrome was something that kind of held me back when I was deciding to take that risk, because I kept thinking that I didn't have that degree. All these people that I see, like when I would look like on the hashtags on Instagram and see all these people, and I'm like, oh my God, like they're so smart. Like, I don't know if I could ever like reach that level, and I don't know like if I have that in me. But then it was also really motivating at the same time. And you just have to trust yourself. You just have to constantly fail, and you have to be ready to fail, and you have to be ready to receive negative feedback, because that's all part of growing. Like I've talked about this before, like growing is painful. It's not like this sexy thing that everyone makes it out to be. And I think that's one thing that I wasn't aware of when I first started. And now I don't appreciate the painful moments when they're happening, but after they're over, I'm really appreciative of them.
Wow, so it's a lot of strength. Yeah, it's kind of amazing how much we can take on when we just go for it.
Mm-hmm. What about you?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, resilience, resilience, resilience. I can always pick up and do the next thing if something doesn't work. Always, always, always. And I have certain mantras, personal mantras that I've adopted in the past few years. And one of them is everything always works out, because no matter what, everything always works out. Even if it works out in the way that I wasn't expecting or the way that I didn't want, somehow it always works out, because you always end up in a place that is okay. You can figure out what to do when you're there. So yeah, resilience is my #1 personal skill that I always rely on, because I know that I can survive anything. But perseverance too. And like you were saying, find something new, right? Just have that courage to say, I'm just going to go for this. And if it doesn't work, then it didn't work. And then I'll do the next thing after that. But it's not that I go into things thinking they won't work. It's really about going into it, doing the best that you can, and then figuring out when whatever happens. Yeah.
By mantras, you mean like you have some affirmations you say a lot?
Yeah, they're like, I call them like slogans or mottos, it's just like, because I work much better with those than goals, right? A lot of times you have, I'm going to do this by this time, and it's just so limiting. So for me, it's more about what can I just say to myself that gives me a little freedom, but it still gives me motivation. So everything works out. I have my more woo-woo ones.
Yeah, I love the woo-woo ones though. Like I think I do have like a list of affirmations taped to my mirror. So like when I'm brushing my teeth or getting ready, I like to say those. If not, I won't say them. But I definitely think that they're part of my self-love kind of, I don't know, routine.
Yeah.
They definitely help me get my morning off to a good start. So it's good to hear that you do that too.
I do, and I have reminders. I have daily, like the pops up on my phone. It's like, something amazing is going to happen today or whatever. So just little daily, affirmations and things to remind me who I am and what I can do.
I think even for the people who are watching who, like kind of think that like affirmations or mottos are like a, I don't know, crock of BS, that like you still have to think that like even if you say these and they make you feel happy, you're going to be in a good mood. And that's the whole point. Even if you think it's like, it's just some fake thing that people are like, it's not. It makes you in a good mood, and that's all that matters, because when you're in a good mood, like you're light, and people want to be around you, like you can be more productive, and it just makes your whole day better. So I think there's some people at my work who will hear me in the morning saying my affirmations, and they just look at me and they just like, they have like that Squidward face, and they're just like, okay, yeah, whatever. But I'm happy the whole day, and I don't care what they think, because it makes my day better, and that's what's important.
Yeah, and that's the big thing too, positive attitude, right? Positive attitude will take you so far. And people don't even realize that a lot of times what's holding them back is just the negativity and that fear. So go for morning affirmations, whatever helps. For her. Masha, what do you have?
That's amazing. Actually, affirmations is something that I do need to incorporate into my routine. And that's a great point. I need to read up on that. But I actually did that when I was a teenager, because I'm a super shy person. You might not get it, you might not see it, or you might not get that vibe, but like I have to overcome my fears of like speaking to public and like meeting new people every single day, because I'm an introvert, I'm super shy, and affirmations really helped me when I was a teenager. So I need to revisit that technique. But in terms of the qualities that you said that that you asked about, probably the qualities that really help me in life is adaptability. Adaptability. Yeah, I think that's the word. Basically being able to adapt to new situations, because I have moved from Russia to the UK when I was 14. And so I was very young. I barely knew the language. I was a very shy child, and I couldn't really, I was afraid that I wasn't going to make friends, and just, adapting to a whole new system. But that really has taught me that this is the way to do it. And now I've just moved 2 months ago. I've just moved to Denver, to the US from London, from a place where I was comfortable with, where most of my friends are. It's fine. I've almost adapted here completely. And it's not just locations, it's also workplaces, it's also different situations, different industries. For example, if you're changing roles, it's super, super important to adapt. And I think the other one is curiosity. I'm super curious, and understanding things is just drives me. And this is why I initially started learning how to code, is because I wanted to know how things work, right? And so this curiosity drives me, I think. And actually, we're getting a lot of very, very inspiring and amazing comments. I don't know if you guys have seen them, but there's some people who are sharing their stories. For example, Wanda the Brave is changing her career at 29 and getting into tech.
Oh, good for her.
Absolutely amazing.
How do you see the comments?
So I've sent you a link not that long ago, but basically if you go on the link that we have shared with all of our audiences, that's where you'll see them live.
Okay.
So I'm just switching in between them
see it.
too. Yeah. So yeah, if you guys feel like answering some questions or responding to some comments, awesome.
Link. Let me see here. Yeah, that's so cool. Curiosity is such a big one. Yeah, thanks for bringing that one up. I think that's why we start in tech to begin with, and it's a great way to stay too, right? Because there's always something new to explore. So curiosity is super big. And Masha, yeah, welcome to the club. I also moved to a new country when I was 13 and didn't know the language. So I know what it's like to go through puberty while you're learning a new language in a new country. It's totally
exactly.
I don't know if I would recommend it, but it does make you more resilient. It makes you more adaptable and open to challenges for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It really helps in life.
Yeah. So now I kind of want to touch a little bit more on your guys' experience or you ladies, on YouTube and on Instagram, because you both do have such a large audience. So I want to talk a little bit about that. First of all, what compelled you to put your experience out there? What compelled you to become this activist?
Ooh, what compelled us to start, right?
To start putting yourself out there as like a public figure in this tech space.
So I actually started in 2015. It was when I was in between jobs. I was working at a couple of startups before, and just to make sure that everybody understands, I'm not a professional developer. I am learning how to code, and I'm helping other people find resources. But I wasn't in tech before. I was doing marketing and for different startups, but I was already fascinated by tech, and the startups that I was working with were in technology. So I was in between jobs. I was applying to everything I could find, and the fact that I have a Russian passport didn't help, because I wanted to work somewhere in the West, but I needed a work visa to go anywhere. It's a problem that I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this might be facing. So yeah, just keep on doing it. I managed to. But I was thinking about the different skills that will make me, first of all, more employable, and second of all, that really interested me, and that was coding. So I started learning how to code, and I started my blog, Coding Blonde, which was in form of text. So obviously I was like, oh, I need an Instagram then. So I started doing Instagram that way, and did some blog posts. The first Blonde Dictionary materials, the first Blonde Dictionary content that I have posted was about was in text form, and it was about HTML being a builder and building websites, and CSS being an interior designer that hangs out with HTML. So I was like, going a little crazy / letting my creativity fly free. But yeah, that's how I started. And then I got a job at Google, and it was very intense. So I couldn't really keep up with it until probably this time last year, when I really started taking it more seriously. And also I was working at YouTube, and I was working with YouTube creators all the time. That was my, that was my user. So to understand them better, this is why I started a YouTube channel, because I wanted to be more empathetic towards them and understand what problems they might be facing. How can I help them better? So it was kind of like an experiment that grew into a passion. And yeah, I guess I'm continuing it and refining my mission almost every day. I literally sit down with my little notebook almost every day, just writing down what I would like to achieve. So yeah, that's how it started for me.
Nice. Al, what about you? I'm really interested to know, like, yeah, what made you decide to pursue even just the way that you have your vision out there, which is, it's pretty multifaceted.
Yeah.
And just FYI, I'm gonna mute myself just for a second because I have to get a baby out of the crib.
Okay. So I had my Instagram, I think, since college, and I didn't really use it that much. I didn't really understand how to use it. And then when I started working in nightlife and I was doing the marketing and social media for this nightclub, I got really into it and I started learning how to use like Photoshop and Illustrator, and kind of like I kept thinking like, how can I make their Instagram stand out from all these other nightclubs? So I started like playing with themes, and then after I left that job, I started investing more into my own personal account. And at that time, I was still kind of finding myself. So I didn't take it too seriously. It wasn't like posting a lot. I wasn't really using it as my personal blog as I do now. And then once I started like learning how to code and like seeing all of these other like really inspirational individuals on Instagram, I wanted to document my journey as well. So that's when I started taking pictures like of my laptop and just sharing like what I was learning. And I was also doing like some web design. So I started sharing that, and then I'm not really sure how it became like this purple theme, but it just kind of bled out that way. Like I didn't have the intention from the beginning. Like I'm sure if you scroll back, you'll see it wasn't like that before. And it like, then I started like putting fades on everything and it just looked really weird. And so then I started getting more advanced with my Photoshop skills. So, and I just liked how it looked, and I felt like it really represented me, and I can tell that it's like, I mean, it's really influenced by like where I used to work, because like, you know, in nightlife, like you have a lot of like crazy lights, and also just living in Taiwan, there's just so many LED lights everywhere. I think I was really inspired by that, and just the music and everything. So in terms of like showing off the different facets of my character, I think the more that I discovered myself, the more I found the parts that I really liked about me and which parts of myself made me feel confident. And I think for a long time, I kind of shrank myself and kind of hid myself, because I did grow up in like a pretty conservative family. I grew up in a really rural area, and I just, I don't know how I want to say, like I didn't have the opportunity to really express myself in the way that I do now, and expressing myself in that way makes me feel so much freedom and gives me so much more confidence. And so kind of my goal is just with showing like my true self, is to teach other people that like, if you want to be like this, like you can. You shouldn't have to dilute yourself for the people around you, because the people who are really there for you and the people who really want to support you are going to stay there, and they're going to root you on. And if they aren't, you need to get rid of those people, because that's a toxic relationship. And it took me a long time to figure that out. And I'm so happy that I did now. And that's why I want to share my story, because I don't want other people to have to take as long as I did to reach their, peak confidence.
That's great. So Masha, I guess in your case, you had a little bit of that, like, okay, you said being employable, right? Because I feel like today that's kind of a thing. You have to have a social media presence. You have to basically prove yourself on social media. Whereas Al, you had more freedom with where you were coming from and more deliberate in your, I guess, your messaging. So when it comes to that sort of employable part, how do you feel like this did help you, Masha?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, I think that the fact that I already have started that blog actually helped me get that Google job, because it showed initiative. It showed that I care about a cause, which is, women in tech, and it shows that I'm curious and I'm trying to learn new stuff. So I think that from that standpoint, that helped me, first of all. And now that I am doing that part-time, because I'm part-time, I'm a global entrepreneur in residence at a university here in Colorado, and part-time I'm also doing this, and it has really opened opportunities and doors for me in terms of the people that I meet, and not necessarily employability, but just the people who I can work on projects with, whether it's for Coding Blonde or something else. I really think that it has opened a lot of doors or windows. Yeah, depending on their size. But yeah, it's been very, very exciting, and I've been very, very grateful. And also it has given me the community, the amazing community of people who share their experiences, share their advice, almost daily with me, which is amazing. Because, for example, I asked them about, what is your morning routine? And people just gave me so much amazing advice. Like, I bought books from those comments. It's incredible. So yeah, I think that it has been amazing in terms of employability, but also other things, for sure.
And Al, since yours has gotten that message of sexual positivity mixed in with the tech, yours is a little bit different. Like, what are the benefits that you've seen so far for you? I know you've talked about being able to express yourself, but what else have you seen come out of this?
So, when I first started doing this, and I still am, I was so afraid. And even my mom was like, companies aren't going to want to hire you, like, when they find out, like, you're modeling and, like, you are sex positive and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, yeah, like, I could agree with her on one side. I could see, like, she's coming from a place of love, wanting to protect me in that way. And then in the other side, I'm thinking, like, okay, well, I, again, don't want to shrink myself, don't want to work for a company that thinks that, when they see me, that's all I have to offer, because I'm supposed to be hired based on my skills. And I think that I have a lot to offer, not just in terms of coding. Like, I do have, like, a business background and international background. So, like, I feel that this also, like, if you really get to know me, you'll see that I'm not just like these pictures that I post. And I think that kind of Instagram in this way kind of teaches people that women can be extremely multifaceted, and we are very strong. And so through me expressing myself in this way, I've had so many opportunities come up, and I have made so many connections that have allowed me to further these interests, like in sex tech. And now, like, I'm trying to bring that to my city and trying to spread that message to other people and try to get other people involved. And without Instagram, like, I would have never had those opportunities offered to me. I would have probably still kind of felt stuck in my shell. Because I think Instagram is definitely like a personal journey as well. Like, I'm not sure how you guys feel, but every time I make a post and every time I'm writing, like, these little blog captions, like, I learn so much more about myself. And I try to be as authentic as possible. I always try, like, everything I share, I have personally gone through. So I'm not trying to just give advice based on what I think people want to hear. And other things that have come of that that just make me feel so good is that I receive a lot of messages from individuals saying that, like, you know, it's really refreshing just seeing like you being real and like just talking about these experiences, like, and like they say that I made them comfortable enough to, you know, want to try things that they haven't tried before, whether that's like doing, I don't know, like a boudoir shoot and getting comfortable with their bodies or XYZ. And that always, like, when I wake up to those messages, I saw some of the messages make me cry because I didn't think that I had this in me. And like, there's one quote by Tara Trent, who's one of Oprah's favorite people, who is a very interesting person. And it says something like, you know, you'll be your happiest when what you're doing is for the betterment of your community and not just like for your personal gain, verbatim. But I really believe in that, because when I receive this feedback is when I'm the happiest. And I get a lot of questions from people like what, why, like, if I want to, like, you know, buy followers or whatever, like try to use this engagement pod to increase my following, and a lot of emails about stuff like that. And you know, in the beginning I thought like that's sound like more followers, more likes, whatever, you know, that sounds cool to everyone, then you can get the promotions and whatever. But and then I started thinking more like, if you do that, then like, you know, you kind of like, I would lose the community that I have now, and I don't want to lose touch with the people that I've met now. I don't want to have time for the people that I have now. And so, and like, and if that was initially my goal, like, I don't know if I would have met you guys, because I would have been focused on like trying to grow my Instagram, you know? And so through that, like, I'm so thankful to even be here talking with you guys today.
Oh, that's awesome. You know, I think it's so authentic the way that you interact with your followers, and it's so nice that you want to keep this tight community. But both of you are pretty highly influential. And I go through your comments and I see really the amount of genuine engagement that you get from people. So being that you are role models now, I do want to ask about your role models that you have in the industry, whether they're women or not, and who they are and what lessons you've learned from them.
Nastassia, go ahead.
Sure. Okay. Well, I just saw one of my role models literally an hour ago. I can't stop going on about it. Sheryl Sandberg, of course, who is such a badass. Like, yeah, just she's amazing. But also, to be honest, my other role model is my dad. And he's back in Russia, and he's probably asleep right now. Yes, it's almost 2 a.m. there. But he has been my inspiration ever since I was small, because he was always pushing, he was always developing, he's always just giving. You know, he's not just doing it for the business, he's also giving. He has started his own company, and he has been the best leader I've seen. Like, his emotional intelligence is amazing, and also like, his employees are all happy. And, you know, doing that, he also started teaching. He has started he's the head of a department in one of the top Russian universities now, and he also does that to inspire a new generation and help them get jobs and all that stuff, which is incredible. So I feel like he has been my role model, the one that I can, you know, really see and really follow. And I've learned from him that you can do whatever you want, as long as you're really, really pushing for it, as long as you're working, as long as you're nice to people, as long as you're making friends along the way. It's very important to be self-aware, and it's very important to be a good leader, because that way you will attract people, and the right people, you know, and it's all about that.
Can we touch on what you just said there a little bit? You mentioned about part of being an influence is being nice, right? Using this influence that you have in a genuine way. I feel like there are a lot of role models out there that we can look at and go, that person did it because they, you know, no holds barred. They just went for it, and they didn't care who they were crushing on their way. But I kind of feel like those role models aren't the healthiest. But I want to kind of touch on that. Like, what do you see in common with the role models that, like, for example, mentioned being nice to people? What are the common skills or the common characteristics, I guess, of the role models that you see or that you have?
I would say, again, emotional intelligence and being able to genuinely care about people, because otherwise, if you don't care, you're not going to create that bond, right? And it's really important not to burn bridges, because like what you were saying, if you're really going for it and not caring about whether you're stomping on someone and like basically killing them, well, not killing them directly, but like killing their business or their idea, taking something from them, this is not a sustainable way to grow, because eventually you will hit a wall, and all those people that you kind of stepped over along the way, they will still remember that, and they will not come and help you. Well, if you kind of grow by building this community and by helping others along the way and maybe collaborating, not stepping over, but collaborating, that's the best way I see to grow and develop in that sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Al, I want to hear about your role models, because I'm sure they're diverse as well.
I was thinking about this like the whole time, who my role models are. It's something I actually haven't ever really sat down and thought about, which is shocking me. I mean, just right now, I have to say, like, oh God, I don't even know. I'm so sorry. But I think for me, like, I have some friends who I really look up to just in my personal life, because they don't take any shit from anyone, and like they are so cutthroat. As soon as something like seems off to them, like they know like this is toxic for me, like that person is gone, they don't even deal with it anymore, and they just like keep going. Anytime something knocks them down, like they just stand up, and even at the same time, even though they're so strong, they're so gentle, because they listen. They have like something that's really hard for a lot of people, even including myself sometimes, is just listening and being able to take negative feedback. And because again, like I said previously, that's how you grow. You have to listen. And I've been reading that book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and I really love it, because it just says like you are always wrong, and you are always working every day when you grow to just be less wrong than you were before. And I just think that's really important, to be open to other people's perspectives, to listen to what they have to say, and use that to your benefit to help better, society and the community, or, the tech community, whatever kind of community you're in.
Mm-hmm. That's a perfect like segue to our next session, right? Talking about self-love and really figuring out like how to overcome negative self-speak, how to overcome self-doubt, because like we were speaking at the top of the hour, it was just that imposter syndrome just tends to follow us everywhere. So what are some ways, or even if it's like advice from books or some things that you've been doing for a while, that you do use to overcome negative self-speak and self-doubt?
Oof. I mean, it's very difficult, because I'm very critical, to be honest. And I have to say that the person that helps me the most, and it's a person, it's not a book, is my boyfriend. And he has been incredibly supportive in that sense. And yeah, so I would say He is my way of overcoming self-doubt a lot of the times, which is amazing that, he's there for me. Another thing, I guess, is something that I should do much more is reflection, because sometimes, and this is a problem that I have, and I'm sure a lot of people have as well, sometimes we get so caught up with where we want to be and where we're not, that we kind of overlook how far we've come so far. It's like climbing a mountain and you've come so far, but you're still looking at the top and you still know you're not there. But you forget to look down, and maybe you shouldn't look down if you're climbing because you might be scared. But it's like you've come a really, really long way. And the thing is, we get so caught up in this whole climbing process that when we reach that peak, we have another peak that we want to climb, and we forget to look down and be like, whoa. So yeah, just appreciating how far you've come is super important. And this is something that I need to do more of, to overcome self-doubt, because I really believe in that. Because if you start appreciating yourself for who you are, that's the best way to go.
Oh, thank you.
I totally agree with that. Like 300% reflection is so important, and especially not forgetting where you came from. Like, I think I just posted something in my story last night. It was like, when I was trying to fall asleep, I was like, damn, I used to work at Costco like just a few years ago. I was handing out like samples, and like I would never imagine that I would be where I am now. And I feel like that rush of gratitude, and that makes me feel better about myself whenever I'm feeling kind of down. So definitely journaling. I think I've worked through a lot of limiting beliefs. I think that's really important. And a lot of the ones just end up being like me caring what other people think about me. It's like I don't know, like I think there was something that I wanted to write about, just for example, and then I didn't have the courage to post it, because then I was like, I had self-doubts, and I was like talking negative to myself, thinking, like people won't like it. And then I was like, okay, well, why do you care that people won't like it? And then I just have to like keep asking myself why. And in the end, it's just like, it doesn't even matter, And so the most important thing is doing what makes you happy and not what makes others happy, because in the end, other people can't make you happy. Only you can. Like you have to find your self-love and your self-confidence in order to reach that fulfillment.
Cool. So yeah, it kind of ties back to what we were talking at the beginning, right? Those affirmations are going to do that for you.
Yeah.
And that, even if you have to fake it till you feel it, having those like positive self-speak and like just self-affirmations really do help quite a bit. And finding a community, I think for me, that's been one of the biggest things on overcoming the self-doubt and negative self-speak, is finding a community. Because once you start talking to people who are in the same circle that you are, or kind of going through the same pain, you go, oh, okay, well, if they can get out of it, so can I. Or if they're going through it, then and I can help them in some way, then I feel better too. So community is huge for me when it comes to overcoming that the negative self-speak. And that's kind of the next thing that I was going to ask you too, is having this audience and belong to this community and having these conversations that I see you to have with your following. How has that impacted you positively and in the way that you see yourself?
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Yeah. It's had such a positive impact, because I feel like I found my tribe. And sometimes I feel like my online friends, who I do end up like we end up getting each other's numbers and FaceTiming and like collaborating on things outside of Instagram, like support me more than some of the people that I see in my, day-to-day life. And I think that's one of the most fascinating things about the internet. And I love them to death. Like I know there's so many people that I've met online through Instagram that I know, like if I'm having a bad day or like something bothers me, I could just like vent to them if I needed to. So they're always there for support. And we always end up like having so much in common too. And so that's like something that, doesn't make me feel that alone. And just because like now, like I'm so busy like with work and school, and I live in like a pretty rural area, so there's not that many people around me. So sometimes it's good to just, you know, have that fresh perspective from another person to talk to about things and like feel that connection with them. So I forgot what the question was.
How is it belonging to the community? How is it positively impacting you?
Yeah, that's a positive impact. Yeah, one of the biggest ones.
Yeah, no, you got it. Okay.
Yeah, I would say the same. To be honest, while being online with this community, I've made some friends, you know, which is the best thing you can come out of any youth situation, the best results you can come out with from any situation. So I would say it's positively impacting me by giving me people that I now can really relate to, talk to, also just like Al. And yeah, just a group of people that care, a group of people that will share their advice. It's unbelievably powerful, especially because I'm trying to create content for um, people, and especially women who are thinking about getting into the tech industry. And so I can consult with my community, asking them, what do you think is the best way to get my point across, or what is the best way to inspire people who want to get into the tech industry? What is it that you would like to know? And it's very powerful. It's 'cause the thing is, I have a master's in market research. So for me, having that audience that I can talk to and I can consult with, it's like, oh my God, this is a gold mine. I love you guys. So yeah, this is another way it's really positively impacting me.
Yeah, you can't get more direct than that.
Exactly. Like I'm creating content for them.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, they're directing me in what way I should go. How should I create it?
Nice.
So, yeah.
Cool. So, you know, before kind of going back into, my last question has to do with being a leader of your community, but I do want to go into like, what are some little things that you two do to take care of yourself? Like, what's the treat yourself stuff that you do for, you know, either that's physically or just mentally taking care of yourself?
Who goes first?
Oh, the gym. I've been going to the gym every morning. And it just, I feel like that's my time alone in my head when I feel like I can, I don't know, that's my time to myself, because when I'm home, I'm with my parents. When I'm at work, I'm with my coworkers. And I can just kind of escape and just like kind of not have to think about anything. And just focus totally on me. And that's about, like, these days that's what it is because of the weather. But I think once like the weather gets better, I'm gonna be camping a lot. I'm really excited. I'm really excited to go camping.
Nice.
That's amazing. I need to get into camping. My boyfriend, because I just moved to Colorado, he wants to take me camping.
Yeah, unplugging is great.
The thing is, yeah, unplugging is great, but my worry is the shower because I like showering. But yeah, in terms of that, also gym, you know, exercising is a big thing, and I have recently started trying to meditate, which has been unbelievably helpful. But also because I'm an introvert, I really need to take time, and I really need to schedule time for myself when I just don't see people or when I don't socialize, because otherwise it's pretty draining. And I just need to be honest with myself on, okay, so this is my social time, but then I'm going to have my non-social time. So that's another thing. And the last thing is, sometimes when I feel like it, it's good to pamper myself, and I don't make enough time for it. But for example, I'm going on a trip this Wednesday. I'm going away and I want to look pretty. So I'm going to go get my nails done tonight. So yes, make time for yourself and like just be yourself and do the things that make you happy. Yes, that's important for mental health.
Yeah, and it's all the little things too. Like a lot of times people don't realize that reading a book for 30 minutes, that's huge.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
I never even thought of that. Yeah, I love reading my book.
Yeah, but that's your time for yourself. I mean, if I can just lie down somewhere for 25 minutes and just read a book by myself, that's huge for me. It makes me feel like $1,000,000. So even just those little things really help a whole lot. But yes, get your nails done when you can.
When you can, schedule those because your calendar fills up so quickly. What about you, Nas?
Yeah, my goal, I guess, one of my only goals is to create more time for that actual pampering stuff, like getting my hair done and the nails. I do that so sporadically because it's just not in my nature, but it does feel really good. I will say one specific thing that I do here, and if you all have that in your city, please go to a Korean spa. Korean spas are the best place on earth, and my favorite thing to do. And I basically just take, oh baby, sorry. I take a whole day for myself. Oh, sorry guys, I'm gonna take a break here. My little baby seems to be unhappy. So I take a whole day to just go to the spa where you just hang out in hot tubs and saunas, and there's a nap room, and it's amazing.
That's awesome. It sounds like a place where I would love to go right now.
So this is the time limit here. The alarm's going off. But before we go off the air, I just want to ask the last question then. What is the ultimate goal that you have as the leader of this community that you have on Instagram and on YouTube?
Go ahead, Masha.
All right. Yeah, we're kind of like, who goes first? Wink twice. Yeah, my goal really and my mission is to help people learn more about the tech industry because there's just so much to it. There's so many dimensions. And when you hear tech, you can kind of get cornered into one aspect of it, but there's just so much. And so I've started, rotating content, and I'm right now doing a lot of content on blockchain to put it out in March. So this is an example, right? So my goal is to help people understand much more about the industry, the different dimensions that it has, and what those dimensions look like almost day to day. Like, for example, if you're curious about working in that sector, because it's constantly developing, it's constantly innovating and disrupting itself. If you want to get on that train, here's how you can do that. So my goal is to really help them understand what it entails and give them the resources to learn further. I don't want to be, I don't want them to think that I'm going to teach them how things work. I'm going to show them how things work and then direct them to the resources where they can actually learn about that.
Very cool. Very, very needed.
No. I think that my goal is, just to, I want to teach people about, I guess, what I'm doing in the tech industry, just to show, like, it's not all just like, programming in Silicon Valley and doing freelance work, and that, you should do what makes you happy. Don't feel like you have to fit into this stigma. Don't feel like you have to water yourself down to fit in. You will find your niche, even if it's small. Like, it's still so rewarding just to do things that you're passionate about and that make you feel good about yourself. And so, yeah, so I think I just want to show, other individuals, just do you, like, basically that's it. And try not to care so much what other people think, because your happiness comes first.
That's huge. Thanks. Thank you so much to both of you for doing what you're doing, for showing up today, for being open to share your story. It's been so great.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
So I hope that
Thank you so much. It has been, and I hope that the audience learns a lot. Actually, we have a comment from Jessie saying that your baby is very, very cute, Nas. Yeah, we've had some amazing comments today. Thank you guys for participating in the conversation and for sharing your story. And I'm especially happy for you, Wanda. You're amazing. Sending you love. Be brave. Yes, just like your name. So yeah, thank you guys. I'm going to turn off broadcast, but don't go anywhere. Awesome. Thank you to everybody who was watching us. Thank you. Have a great time of the day you're currently experiencing. Oh, and don't forget to follow these wonderful ladies on Instagram. And subscribe to my channel. Yeah.